In this video, we're going to talk about how different behaviors are appropriate for different contexts. When you go to a job interview, you might wear a button-up and slacks, but if you were painting your kitchen, you'd wear something different. If you're hanging out with your friend on the weekend, you might make sure that you've showered, but if you have a date with someone you're really interested in, you go to a greater effort to smell really good. We all change the way that we behave in different situations. We're not always just one version of ourselves, but each of us is made up of many different versions or personas that are appropriate in different circumstances. When we use different ways of speaking in different situations, that's called code switching. But this term can be useful for thinking about more behaviors than just speech, and it's an important concept to understand. You can use this knowledge to understand how to make behavioral changes for different situations. First, all of the ways that we behave have extra meaning beyond just the thing itself. Think about these behaviors, for example. How someone wears their hair, how someone walks, the color someone wears, someone's tattoos, how much makeup someone wears, someone's body language, the car someone drives, the watch someone buys. For example, if someone always crosses their arms, what does this mean? What would you think about them? Could that meaning change in different places or contexts? Behaviors are often assigned value in a culture based on power hierarchies and social dynamics in that society. For example, America has a history of oppressing recent immigrants, and the immigrant group that is most persecuted changes over time. Because of this oppression of immigrants, the English language has gained value as a symbol of power, and many people behave in prejudiced ways towards speakers of other languages. There is even prejudice against the way that people speak English, even though every way to speak English is equally valid. You might have experienced people telling you to speak English or to speak proper English, even though you are effectively communicating right. This is because we associate correct behaviors with the group of people in our societies that hold most of the power. And it's not just the way that we speak that we can be labeled as more or less good or right. Another example comes from America's racist history and continued racism. In many contexts, there have been specific rules about how people could or couldn't wear their hair that were specifically prejudiced against the ways that Black people might wear their hair. There are different types of power that people have in different places and communities, though. In your neighborhood or in your family, for example, it might be beneficial to show through your behavior that you're a part of the community. There may be behaviors that are valued at a local level within a cultural or ethnic group, or even within a group as small as a family. It's important for every individual to understand these values too. If you spoke or dressed a certain way in this context, you might not be accepted or you might show that you don't belong. Local values are just as important and valid as any other values. It's important to note that sometimes behaviors have value that isn't really related to these power dynamics, but to the behavior's usefulness instead. For example, in the example at the beginning of the video about how you dress, you would be silly to show up to paint in clothes that shouldn't get dirty. What matters in choosing how to behave in a particular context is whether the behavior is, first, compassionate and legal, and second, whether it is advantageous to you and the individuals you are interacting with in that situation in some way. You might have been told that you need to change your behaviors to succeed. But it's not about changing who you are. It's about knowing what's safe and appropriate in every situation. What's right in one situation might not be right in another. And it's about knowing how to behave for every context. Think about the different contexts that you are in your daily life. What behaviors of yours change across these different contexts? Going forward, it's important to know how to dress and speak effectively for a job interview or for a public speech, for example. But it's also important to allow yourself to express your individuality with self-love and integrity in many other contexts as well. Think about the meanings that your different choices really have and be aware of how these meanings might shift around in different environments. Thanks for watching.